Hello viewers, my name is Omoyele Shore and this is a continuation of our broadcast live from New York City today, talking about the freedom granted former Chief Security Officer to late dictator Sani Abacha in Nigeria. This is something that has shocked Nigeria the same way the freedom granted Mr. George Zimmerman in Florida by a jury made up of 5 women shocked America. But in the case of Nigeria, nobody is protesting. As a matter of fact, Mr. Hamza-Al-Mustapha was given a hero's welcome in his home city in Kano, northern part of Nigeria. So, in continuation of our discussion today, we have on Skype from Nigeria, Hafsat Abiola Costello, who is the founder of Kudirat Initiative for Democracy. She is the daughter of the Nigerian democracy heroine, Kudirat Abiola, and of course her father, Moshood Kashimowo Abiola, also died in detention while he was trying to reclaim his 1993 June 12 mandate given in a free and fair election in Nigeria. So Hafsat and the family has been through a lot, as you can imagine. Welcome to our show, Hafsat.
Thank you.
Yes. So how did the family react to the judgment, I would say at the family level, when you heard that Al-Mustapha was acquitted and discharged of the murder of your mother by a panel of Court of Appeal judges in Lagos, in the city of Lagos?
We were shocked. We were angry. It was the last thing we were expecting after the judgment in January 2012, January last year, when Justice Mojisola Dada sentenced Al-Mustapha and Mr. Shofalaon to death and declared them guilty of my mother's assassination. So to have the appeal court overturn that verdict and set them free was very surprising.
Well, I'll take you back to, say, Sahara reporters. We reported on June 30th that there was a deal between this judge, a particular judge, Amina Oge, and a lawyer who was former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, J.B. Daudu, to free Al-Mustapha. That there was a deal going on. And it was a bit shocking that nobody took interest in that particular story, even though we made that revelation on Sahara reporters. Did you just take it for granted, or you didn't see the story, for example?
Well, I didn't even see that story. But now that after the verdict, you know, the truth is that this case has been going on for over a decade. And the Al-Mustapha and Mr. Shofalaon did everything they could to delay the trial. At every point in the trial, they would request a stay of proceedings and stall for time. And so over the years, I think everybody has become quite lax, not paying as much attention to the case. It's not been 10 years, it's not been 11, it's been more. And so, you know, everybody had been paying attention from the beginning, but as the years kept going by, I don't think we were as attentive as we ought to have been. I think everyone that was involved in this case and was seeking justice was taken by surprise. And I met with the Attorney General of Lagos with my siblings that are in Nigeria. We met with him on Wednesday. And he said to us that he explained all the delaying tactics that have been employed and how, because of those delays, the ballistics expert that had been involved in the case has died. So many of the witnesses that the Lagos State Ministry of Justice had lined up have passed on, you know, through natural causes. And it was things like this that the defense team were counting on, because they knew that we had a very strong case. There was really never a question, because it was a political assassination, and the way in which it was done really clearly pointed the finger at these men that were being tried, and even at the man that actually did the assassination, that actually shot my mother, Sergeant Rogers. And later on, Sergeant Rogers actually even confessed. And the problems that we then had was that because of all the delays, the experts had been lined up, so many of them died. The confession of Sergeant Rogers, he later recanted his confession. So it made a very strong case less strong. And I think all of these things were was what the defense team had been counting on, because they knew that at the case being allowed to go at its normal pace, they really would not have been able to prove, they would not have been able to get an acquittal. Even so, they should not have gotten an acquittal, even with all the problems, because Al-Mustapha that was being tried was the chief security officer under Sani Abacha, the dictator at the time. And he was involved in many executions. He had a death squad. And so there was never any question. So indeed, I even wonder at really what was going on behind the scenes in terms of the judges. And I'm not surprised by the revelations that Sahara reporters made 2 weeks ago, saying that there was more to this judgment than just mere question of balancing the facts and trying to give a credible, free and fair trial. And these are the things that we are hearing as well. But when I spoke to the Attorney General, he said that they will be gathering their team. They have a team made up of past Attorney Generals and current Attorney Generals, Solicitor Generals, and the whole legal team in the Ministry of Justice to look at all of the evidence, and they are going to appeal this judgment so that the case will now be heard at the Supreme Court. That's one good thing. Another thing that has to be done is really, we have to look and see what was really going on in this particular Court of Appeal, in this particular case in the Court of Appeal, to see if there were any political political negotiations or other kinds of negotiations that impacted on the judgment.
Yes. Have you seen or read the judgment yourself, the appeal court judgment? Have you seen it?
Well, when we met with the Attorney General on Wednesday, they were expecting to receive it. They wanted to get the certified true copy so that they would see really what the judges were basing their judgment on, and they had not received it. But they committed to us that they would send it to us, and we expect them to have it by Monday.
Yes. I mean, we have seen a concurring opinion written by Justice Amina Oge herself, which is kind of strange that her own concurring opinion is available to the public through a listserv. As a matter of fact, it was the guy who is, Chidi Odin Kalu, who is the chairman of Nigerian Human Rights Commission, who made it available to a listserv where we saw a copy. And it's strange that the same Human Rights Commission doesn't have the full judgment available for the public, but they have for the judge who has been accused of being involved in this particular deal with the NBA president. Because what is amazing and worrisome about this is the fact that when Mr. J.B. Daud stood for Abacha's son in this case, his argument in getting Abacha's son out of jail in those days and out of the case was that he wasn't responsible for this. It was Al-Mustapha who was responsible. And the Supreme Court then said, well, giving $10,000 to the killers was not enough evidence to show that he was directly culpable. Now the same lawyer goes before another judge to say, well, the guy I said at the Supreme Court some 10 years ago was guilty is not guilty anymore. And suddenly he gets an acquittal. So does your family feel betrayed by the Nigerian judicial system based on this little explanation I just made?
Well, that explanation and many more we keep hearing. And, there are many contradictions in this case, even where Justice Belgore, who released Mohamed Abacha, he also said, the boy just happened to be in the same room. He didn't know what was happening in the room when those people were exchanging weapons and making plans for the assassination. And so now they're telling us that those people were not actually involved in the assassination. So, but if you were releasing one person and in your judgment in releasing that one person, you said, these are the people who were involved. And this is not even the lawyer, this is Justice Belgore who was saying this in the Supreme Court at the time, and saying that so the boy was not involved and the boy was released, and now we're coming back and now a lawyer is now telling us that, and even these people that the justice had said were involved are not involved. It clearly shows you that there is more going on in this case, and I think that I think that it's important for us to take the case to the Supreme Court because, first of all, at the Supreme Court, there is now the Chief Justice for the Federation who has been trying to clean out the corruption in the judicial system, which is really rampant. And we have to give maximum opportunity for Nigeria to do the right thing. I think it's very difficult for the Nigerian government to do the right thing for many reasons. In part because everything everything is tradable. Everything is is a matter of negotiations, and perhaps certain political actors are looking for certain things, maybe connected to 2015, and in that negotiation, the release of this man is one of what they want to negotiate. And we know that that could be going on. We also know that there are Nigerians who, in spite of the general decay of all our institutions, who are committed to doing the right thing. And I feel personally, and I know that my siblings and I share this opinion, that we should give the institutions of Nigeria the chance to do the right thing. It doesn't mean that they will, but at the end of the day, we should be able to say that we took this case to the Supreme Court and that this is what the Supreme Court said. And of course, beyond what the Supreme Court says, if we still don't have justice at that point, then we can look at what the other options available to ensure that there's justice for my mother. We can look at what other options we have available to securing that justice.
Yes.
But yes, we do feel, I think it's safe to say that we feel betrayed by the political system in Nigeria. But Shura, I have to tell you that we're joining a very long queue of people who would feel betrayed by the political system in Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria is, as it is now, I don't think there's one Nigerian that would tell you that they're happy with the situation of the country as it is now. And so, we cannot claim to be the only people that the country is always willing to sacrifice. I mean, we are one of millions of people. Justice is very difficult for the common man. And justice is very difficult even for uncommon people. I mean, it's just difficult in general in Nigeria to secure justice. But I think here's what I want to say. In general, I think that the system as it is expects you to give up. They expect you to just accept that this is the way things are. And then they expect you to also go the spiritual route and say, oh, but we can be confident that God's justice is a perfect justice and that God will do what he needs to do. And I can certainly say that our faith in God is not tested in this case. It has not been tested over the years. Our faith is unshakable in the Almighty. At the same time, we're all aware that there's no change in any society that comes from simply sitting down and accepting what is. Change comes when we see what is wrong and challenge that wrongdoing. And, if my siblings and I cannot challenge the wrongdoing on behalf of my mother, I really don't know who in Nigeria can challenge wrongdoing. Because we have a position where we're not hungry, we have some education, and we have allies. We've had a long history in the movement, and we have a lot of allies that we can call upon. And all of that we are doing on this case. We're not going to release it. We're not going to wait for God, since God has given us the intelligence to be able to attend to our own problems.
Yes, one of the things that you said on Facebook when this judgment was given was to make a very short reference to Malala. That was the young lady who was shot by the Taliban in Pakistan. And it said, you were referring to her speech at the United Nations, and you said, my mother didn't have a chance to survive the bullet to her head, but Malala did, and this made a whole lot of difference. What were you trying to say there? I mean, I kind of get it, but in a way also, it was just a little bit deep. So I want to ask you, what was your point regarding Malala and your mom?
You know, I feel that once you're dead in Nigeria, they just forget.
Yeah.
Or they want to forget. Or
Yes.
they want to, you know, they want to engage in some kind of, I don't know, brainwashing or rewriting of history. I think that if the security agencies in Nigeria were to have their say, the next thing we'll be hearing is that Kudirat Abiola shot herself in the head, that she ambushed her own car and shot herself in the head. You know, because they don't want to take accountability, and it's so important for getting the state to have the right relationship with its citizens, that the state understands the limits of its power. If the security agencies feel that they can act with impunity, then it doesn't matter that we say that we're in a democratic system, because that democratic system the common man will experience that democratic system in a similar fashion to a military and autocratic system. The only thing that makes a democratic system meaningful is the respect for rights and the limitations of powers, you know. But if we allow the security agency to just think, oh, if a political official gives us an order and says, go and assassinate my opponent, so long as I was following an order, then I'm not culpable. That sets a very dangerous precedent. And that actually is what is happening with this case, because nobody says Al-Mustapha of his own volition organized the assassination of my mother. It's without doubt it would have been General Abacha would have ordered him to have Kudirat Abiola assassinated. But what needs to be clear to all security agents and in the agencies is that there are legitimate orders and there are illegitimate orders. And it's not enough that somebody who holds a certain position gives an order to make it legitimate. Somebody in a position can give an illegitimate order and you should disobey it. And we need to make that very clear. Now, unfortunately for us in this case, the woman who was shot, who was the victim of this crime, has died, so she cannot speak for herself. You know, Malala can speak for herself because she can go to the United Nations, and it's not really, as Malala made clear in her speech, it's not really about vengeance. It's really about fighting for change. And when she went to the United Nations, she was clear and she said, what she's fighting for are the 40 million children who are out of school and deserve an education, have a right to an education. So essentially saying that what she's fighting for is what they try to silence her for. And so long as she's not silent, she'll continue to fight for it. And likewise, in the case of my mother, she may not be here, but the struggle that she was waging continues. And it's one that those of us that stand in her spirit and honor her spirit can continue on our behalf. And that is that we should have a true democracy in Nigeria, that our government should be accountable to us, that they shouldn't be negotiating away our rights in political negotiations. You know, when I thought about this case about my mother, I remembered the slave trade, when we were buying and selling human beings for mirrors, trinkets, gin, nothing, a whole lot of nothing. At that time, hundreds of years ago, those people that were involved probably felt that what they were getting in exchange for human life was worth something. But when we look back, we can say, look, really, the continent suffered as a result of this. And I think it's not so far from this current situation where we don't know exactly what what justice for Kudirat Abiola was traded for, but we know that there was trading that took place, and that these people are hoping that we're just going to sit back and just allow her right to justice to be traded, and we will not. Nigerian lives are not to be traded. Things are meant to be traded. People are not meant to be traded, and we won't release the Nigerian government from meeting its responsibility for safeguarding the rights of the Nigerian people and ensuring that they hold their security agents accountable for whatever their security agents do, even if they do it in their name.
Well, you know, I want to ask next steps, particularly when your mom and dad were in detention. There was a lot of international campaign, and it seems to be absent this time around. Do you plan to resurrect some kind of international campaign? Because even if Al-Mustapha were to be free in Nigeria, he could be held accountable for some international crimes if there is solid evidence that they actually ordered the killing of your mom and several other pro-democracy activists, by the way. Do you plan to internationalize this campaign once again?
Yes, certainly, but we also have to give the Nigerian institutions a chance to express themselves in full. And that next step is the Supreme Court. And the Lagos Ministry of Justice is preparing that case to appeal. I think that internationalizing the issue is good, and I'm sure that we will be working on doing that. But I do think that, let's give the Nigerian government and the Nigerian state, the Nigerian judiciary, a chance to surprise us, a chance to show us that they're actually a credible institution before we take the matter to another platform. But of course, all of it could be happening simultaneously. And to be honest, Shore, if you wouldn't mind, I don't want to discuss right now all the things that we are working on. Let it be enough to say that we are not sitting back and just allowing this to happen.
Yes. So the last question I have is to kind of, you hinted twice that there are certain political considerations that might have been responsible for this. Not certainly, I mean, do you think that President Jonathan, for example, might have used the case as a bargaining tool to gain more Northern support, knowing that a lot of Northerners actually wanted Al-Mustapha to be released? Even Dr. Faeshun, who's been under fire, was on our show today saying that he was interested in getting Mustapha out of jail because he felt like if he died in Lagos, he could have been interpreted in the North as one of their sons was killed in Yoruba land. So do you think there's, Jonathan might have been involved in trying to gain some political favor from the North in the extra-legal negotiation that went into this judgment, as the case may be?
To be honest, let me just say, Shore, that at this time I do not want to say anything about that.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, I want to wait.
All right. So what do you have to say to Dr. Faeshun, who has been supporting Al-Mustapha and been all over the place, gallivanting and saying that Mustapha is innocent, and now that he's free, he's become a celebrity, celebrating Mustapha as his hero? What do you have to say to him? Last question.
I think that Dr. Faeshun understands what's driving him, and actually, so you also understand what is driving him. I think the majority of Nigerians understand what's driving him, and I think we can only look at Dr. Faeshun with pity and just really shake our heads. I understand that he's about 78 years old.
Yeah.
And if a 78-year-old man can sell himself so cheaply, I really wonder what hope we have for the rest of the country.
Wow. Hafsat, I want to thank you so much for coming on SaharaTV today. I gave you short notice, but we hope you come back again and discuss so many other issues that we know you are very, very vast and knowledgeable about. Once again, thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you. All right, viewers, it's been Hafsat Abiola Costello out of Lagos via Skype discussing the death of her mother and the Court of Appeal judgment that acquitted Hamza-Al-Mustapha, Major, who is still in the army, by the way, from the death of her mother. So please do not go away. There's a lot more coming on our show today, and you can guarantee that you have more fun and gain more knowledge.